Hello, everyone, and welcome to the third episode of the Couchcast Under the Cushions, where we dive super deep into the mysterious and the creepy and the spooky.
Why are you sitting like that?
I'm trying to look more regal. My name is Jordan, and this is my co-host, Vidalia, and today we are going to be talking about a mystery of Joan Risch. So come along with me on this journey while we discover what happened to her or what didn't happen to her, because I don't know, and maybe you guys don't either. So we're going to find out together. So, what happened? Who is Joan Risch, and what's her story?
Are you ready for a wild ride?
I'm excited.
All right.
I'm always ready.
It's a good one.
Okay.
All of this, I have 7 pages of notes, and all but half a page take place in one day. Okay.
So much is about to happen.
So much is about to happen. I did 7 pages of notes. Unlike last time, I did blue ink. I don't know if you can see, but blue ink.
For sadness?
Still did not make me feel any happier about the whole situation. And I have a lot more notes than I did last time.
Oh, God. Is there that much that goes into it?
Oh, my God. There's so much. Well, because, okay, before we begin, we are following a timeline. That's what it comes down to. This is a disappearance. Okay? So we are following a timeline with some strange things along the way.
Some strange occurrences.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Joan Risch was born May 12th in 1930 in Brooklyn. Okay, so I didn't know this part about her case when I first started researching it. So in 1940, she had moved. She was 9, I guess. She had about to turn 10. Her family moved to New Jersey, where her parents died in a mysterious fire after she got molested by a family member. So I don't know what that was. It was really weird, but they didn't go into detail about what that was all about. But there was some abuse, and then her family mysteriously died. And then she went to live with a relative, and then she took their last name. But it was very odd. I was like,
okay.
All right.
Maybe they adopted her.
We're 2 lines in.
So it begins.
So she graduated college in 1952 with an English degree. She became a secretary at a publishing company.
Okay.
And she later married an executive of said publishing company, Martin Risch. So she became a homemaker, and you can go ahead and show them our first picture.
Picture number 1.
This is going to be pictures of her. It was really hard to find pictures of her. You'll notice on the left she's at her youngest, and then it's a little bit older.
She got a little blurry there in the middle.
She does get it was very hard to... This takes place in the 1960s, so...
Oh, I thought that was just her skin.
Are you done? That's
Continue.
okay. I will say, I found a picture of her, the one on the left. But the only one that I could find on the left that wasn't completely tiny was one where she was blue. And then I thought you might say some crap about that. Her being blue. But, so she became a homemaker. She stayed at home. She was a wife. She was the very classic 50s and 60s housewife. That's what it came down to. They had 2 kids. She had Lillian in 1957 and David in 1959.
Okay.
In April 1961, you can switch to our next picture, they moved to a place called Lincoln, Massachusetts. That's where it is on the map, so you can see how far north they are. They're basically Canadians.
Yeah. Okay.
I feel good when you laugh.
Okay.
Makes me feel good. So, in April of 1961, her and her husband and her 2 children moved to Lincoln, Massachusetts. She wasn't super involved with the community, but she was involved with the Women Voters League, something like that. Her husband was pretty involved. He was still part of the publishing company, and he would frequently fly back and forth to New York City and stuff like that. She told friends in the neighborhood that when the children got a little bit older, she wanted to go back to school and be a teacher. She was very loving. Everyone described her as very involved with her children, and she loved her life. She was very happy. That's really loud.
That's fine.
She loved her life. She loved her children. She got along with pretty much everyone. She was described as shy, but dedicated to her family. So our actual story begins on October 24th, 1961. Okay, so later that year, they moved there in April. This happens in October of that year.
So she's
Yeah, she's 30, 31.
You said she was born in 35?
She was born in 1930.
30.
So she is 31.
So she's 31, okay.
Yeah. My mother's calling. No, Mom, you can't be on the podcast. Okay, so on the morning of October 24th, 1961, Martin, who was her husband, catches an 8 a.m. flight to New York City for business.
Okay.
Very common. There's nothing out of the ordinary with that. She had dropped off her son, David, who was the toddler, with a neighbor so that she could go to the dentist with her daughter, Lillian. And click to the next one. I think this is their house. Okay, so this is their house. That's her car in the driveway.
Okay.
So she dropped off her son with a neighbor to watch him while she went to the dentist, and she took Lillian. After the dentist, she took her daughter shopping for a little bit. The milkman and the postman reported that there was nothing strange at the home. They went about their business, nothing crazy going on. Joan returned home and picked up her son from the neighbor. They said that she returned home about 11:15 that morning.
So she only
She went to the dentist, yeah.
Okay.
So a delivery driver showed up about that time to get Martin's suits for the dry cleaning. That's not weird at all, like very normal. He also reported that there was nothing strange. She was acting very nice, very friendly, just like always. Around this time that Joan changed clothes. So she had been in like a more like formal attire to go to the dentist and stuff, but now she's just around the house, so she's like wearing just a regular coat.
Some sweats. They have sweatpants in the
I mean,
1950s?
not for housewives.
Oh.
I think they wore like dresses. They were still expected to like look nice, but
That's too complicated.
it is too complicated. So she proceeded to make lunch for her kids around 12 p.m., which was a routine. That's one thing that we learn about Joan is that she's very much part of her routine. She makes lunch for the kids every day at 12. She always lays her son down. So she made lunch for the kids. She laid David down for a nap, and the naps always last until 2 p.m., which seems like a really long nap. But
it's not a nap. It's a sleep.
It's a sleep.
She went to sleep for a little while. She was like, all right.
Not she did. He did.
The son.
Her son.
Oh, the son.
So she puts him down and she goes and does more chores and stuff.
Gotcha. She was like, listen, mommy needs some quiet time.
Oh boy.
Go to sleep.
We're gonna talk about her being a day drinker later.
Oh, see, I was gonna say that. But I didn't want to I was like, nah, let's not go there yet.
So David is laid down in his crib for a nap upstairs. At 1 p.m., the neighbor Barbara Barker, I think that was her name, she brought her son Douglas to play with Lillian outside. So Joan came in and out to like prune her plants, cut flowers, doing like yard work. Nothing was out of the ordinary there. Right before 2, Joan took the kids across the street to the neighbors to play. Mm-hmm. Back to the original child, Douglas's house.
Okay.
She told them she would be back soon. Lillian and Douglas played on a swing set where they could not see the Risch household. Okay, you hanging on?
Yep.
All right.
I'm just waiting for it to happen. You give me all these like really specific times, and there's gonna be like 10 minutes where a bunch of crazy shit happens.
Okay, so that was about 2 o'clock. At 2:15, let me make sure I didn't skip pages. Okay. At 2:15, a neighbor saw Joan wearing a trench coat going up her driveway carrying something red. The neighbor assumed that she was chasing one of her kids, and this is also the last confirmed sighting of Joan. And it's kind of weird because she's like wearing a trench coat, she's like hustling up her driveway. But nobody says anything. The kids are out playing in a different swing set, so nobody can see. The odd thing about this one too, so one of the things I was reading about Joan, kind of going off track here a little bit, was one of the things I was reading about Joan is she was very cautious. Like so cautious where she like didn't even like to go on walks down the street with her kids because of the traffic on the street.
Right.
And I'm thinking if there's that many people going by, why did there's not that many like sightings. Like that's the weird thing.
Yeah,
like,
it's kind of strange.
Not many witnesses to what's going on. So that was 2:15, which was the last confirmed sighting.
Of her walking up her driveway holding something red?
Carrying something red. And she's wearing a trench coat at that point.
It's weird.
Okay. At 3:15, the neighbor's daughter reported an unfamiliar car, a General Motors that was dirty and two-tone, which was out of place. And you should be able to come to the next one. I think this is the next picture. Something along those lines, I assumed. It was hard to find a car, but I figured it looked like that. So we're using our imagination.
Oh, God.
We're using our imagination here. You told me to find pictures.
Professionalism. Oh, this is fine.
So the neighbor's daughter got off the school bus at 3:15 and reported this unfamiliar car in the neighborhood, which makes sense because all the neighbors know each other and they're like, this car is really kind of strange.
Was it like a cul-de-sac? Or it wasn't a cul-de-sac, was it?
Just a street.
Okay.
I didn't say anything about it being a cul-de-sac. It's just a regular street.
Because then it'd be even weirder.
Yeah. No, I agree, but like this one was parked in front of their house.
Okay.
In front of the Risch house.
In the driveway?
Not in the driveway, in front of it. Just like on
just
the
on
street.
the street?
Okay. If I remember correctly, and I may have to double check this later, I don't know. But if I remember correctly, somebody had reported that they had seen this exact same car a week prior in the driveway.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, that's weird.
So that was 3:15. At 3:40, Lillian returns home. The neighbor had brought her over, and since, you know, everybody knows everyone else, it's the 60s, she just kind of dropped her off and said, all right, you go inside, because she was going to go run errands with Douglas really fast down the street. So she dropped Lillian off and said, all right, bye, and she left Lillian believing that Joan was still at home. All right. 4:15. Lillian came back to the Barker's house, the people that had just left her, because they came back. So 4:15, she said, Mommy is gone and the kitchen is covered in red paint. Click the next picture.
Jesus.
All right, hold on before you do. These are crime scene photos. They are in black and white, so you really can't tell. It's not like super graphic or anything. I just want to warn anyone that there are crime scene photos. So this is Mommy is gone and the kitchen is covered in red paint. Okay. Taking that in?
Banned. Yeah.
Instantly, right? So the neighbor rushed over, and her baby brother was crying in his crib because he needed a change, and he hadn't been changed in a while. It is now 4:15. He's normally up at 2. She normally wakes him up and changes him and does everything at 2 p.m. Okay?
Okay.
Hold on, I need more coffee.
So it's been 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah, because 2:15 was the last confirmed sighting of her. So her baby brother was up in his crib and he was crying because he hadn't been changed in a while and he hadn't been bothered. The police were finally called at 4:33 p.m. Okay, so less than, like, I guess it took them about like 15 minutes to sort of be like, what the heck is going on? And they searched for her and they couldn't find her. Where do I want to start? That was number. Okay, so Sergeant Mike McHugh arrived within 5 minutes because it's like a small town or whatever. So he shows up, and go ahead and flip to our next picture. More crime scene photos, guys. Here we go. Living life. Nothing crazy in this one, but he noted that there were bloody smears on the walls, an overturned table, and the phone had been ripped off the wall and thrown away in the thrown away. The trash can had been moved to the center of the kitchen, as you can see there. And it was normally like in a corner somewhere, and the phone had been thrown in it. I was actually looking at a picture. One of the crime scene photos has where it had been pulled off the wall, and you can see that they never accounted for like the phone cable that went into the wall, so it was missing.
That's weird.
Yeah.
Strange.
So originally the cops suspected that it was a suicide, but they couldn't find a body. All right.
What? Why are all these stories like, oh no, it's definitely a suicide. We're going with that first. We'll figure it out later.
It's easier, right?
Dude, that's so sketchy. Like, oh yeah, no, she definitely killed herself, and she really hated that phone.
She really hated that phone.
Yeah, 2-step process.
Okay, so originally he suspected a suicide, but there was no body. Now, this entire page I have over here is all about the blood. So, you ready for this? Go ahead and click to our next picture. Okay. So there was a lot of blood, but they could not conclude an origin, like where it had started or like, you know, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
There were 3 unidentified bloody fingerprints, but they couldn't compare them to Joan's because she had none on file and she obviously wasn't there. Okay?
Yeah.
There were paper towels on the floor, like someone had been trying to clean up, as you might have seen. You can kind of see the edge there.
Yeah.
There was a pair of David, her son's overalls that were also used to clean the blood. But it wasn't even like clean, it was like smeared around.
Yeah, because they're overalls.
Yeah. So it looked, and this is an exact quote, it looked as if a heavy weight had been on them for a while, such as a body. Like they'd been so compressed. They also noted that the blood looked consistent with somebody who was staggering around trying to find their balance. This is where it also gets kind of weird. So the majority of the blood was found in the kitchen, as we can see here. There were a few drops found outside, at the tops of the stairs, in the master bedroom, and in the children's bedroom. And when I mean drops, I mean literally just drops. It's not like a substantial amount.
It's just a little bit.
Just like 1 or 2 drops. Like that's what they were able to identify. And it was like, yeah, okay. Go ahead and click to our next picture. This is also weird.
It's all weird. Everything
it's all
is weird.
Bizarre.
It's all bizarre. When did the last story take place? In the 50s, right?
The last one that we did.
Debbie Wolf?
Debbie Wolf took place in the 80s, in 1985.
Oh, the 80s.
1985.
Oh, okay. Jesus, the
This
80s.
is 1961 for this one.
Oh my god. I thought it was earlier.
So that's her car in the driveway we saw at the beginning. The car was also stained with blood. There was a little bit found on the fender, a little bit found on the hood next to the windshield, and then some found on the trunk.
Wait, there was blood found on the car outside? Okay, continue.
Processing? Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Hold on. Okay, yeah, go.
Okay. There were no bloody footprints anywhere, which meant that somebody had either been very careful to avoid them or just got really lucky, or who knows, but there were no footprints. And the only fingerprints they found in the blood could not be matched to anybody. But that doesn't mean that they weren't hers.
Yeah.
The blood was type O, which was said to be Joan's blood type.
Do they not keep records of this stuff? Like, I want
It's the 60s.
Well, I mean, yeah, but everybody gets born with a birth certificate. I mean, they had birth certificates back then. Like, don't they? Wouldn't that be like part of the information that you would record? Blood type, weight, height, all that stuff.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know, like... See, my thought process is very much like, it's the 60s, so at that point in their minds, bad stuff doesn't happen. Like, you've got to remember that. Like, that's, like, stuff didn't happen. You didn't have to worry about it, you know? But Joan was also really cautious, so I don't know.
Okay.
So it was type O. And you can pull it back to us if you want. I just wanted to show the car, because it's, like, really far from the house. Like, that's an actual scene photo. So it was, like, pretty distant from the house. Okay. So the last thing I want to say about the blood is that they determined that the amount of blood that was there was, like, half a pint or something. It was, like, barely anything. It looks like a lot, but it's not that much. They said it was not consistent with a life-threatening injury.
How? Well, I guess, okay, like if you cut your hand,
yeah, they were
and
like,
start freaking out.
Yeah, they were like, well, you won't die from this. Like, that's not that much blood.
Okay.
Okay, so, okay. Immediately, they contacted the husband in New York City, and he caught the first flight back, like, immediately. Like, he was like, oh my god, you know.
Naturally.
Yeah. So, they noted that the mail for the day had not been brought inside, which was strange. In the kitchen, the phone book had been opened to the emergency contact list as well. At this point, there was no 911. 911 did not come into effect. I actually researched this until, like, 1968.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, so...
Well, what about, like, the fire department? Would you just call, like,
you have to call
a
the fire
specific
department.
number?
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus,
so, like,
that's
back then, like, the
interesting.
way that they described it was, like, back then, like, they would have, like, emergency contacts, and you wrote your local numbers in it.
Oh.
And they said that hers had been turned to the emergency contacts list, but there were no numbers listed. They had never written any down.
Okay. That's okay.
So she had been trying to, somebody had apparently been trying to look for help, and there were no numbers there. There was an empty liquor bottle on the floor. Mr. Risch, her husband Martin, later told them, that's ours. You know, we had a couple drinks last night. We finished the bottle, and that's ours. There were also a couple empty beer bottles on the floor, which he did not recall, because she also, and this is where we get to, she wasn't a day drinker. So those empty beer bottles that he's like, I don't even know where this came from. I don't know what that is.
Was it a beer that they had? Do you know?
No.
It was not something that he drank? And
yeah, he doesn't, they drank liquor. They didn't drink beer. That's my understanding, at least, from what I could read. So he couldn't identify those. But the liquor bottle he knew was theirs. But it was, like, on the floor. And one thing he said about Joan was that she was really, like, she was a good housewife. Like, every time the trash can filled up, she cleaned it out. Like, he's like, I don't even know why that would still be there. Like, she normally takes that stuff out the night before or something. Okay.
Jesus.
And this is all one day. Okay, so She had left her trench coat behind, but there was a light jacket missing. She had also left her purse behind. They figured that with her trip to the dentist and everything else, she'd probably had less than $10 at that time left on her. I don't know if the money was ever recovered or how that went, but that's how much they suspected she had. So now we're going to get into some sightings.
Some sightings of her?
Okay.
So she's just like gone.
She's gone. No trace. They did not find her anywhere. There was just like drops of blood everywhere. Nobody had seen anything. The last confirmed sighting of her was at 2:15. 3:15. 3:15? Hold on.
2:15.
2:15. 2:15, yes.
What? Okay. Okay. All right. Go on. Okay. Sightings.
At 2:45.
Wait, so they haven't heard anything at all? That's so strange. Okay, go on.
At 2:45 that day, a woman in similar clothing and a handkerchief like tied around her head, you know, like back in like the 1950s, they tie it around and like they've got the sunglasses on, you know, like sort of diva-ish. A woman with that around her head was sighted down Route 2A. They stated that she was wandering aimlessly and looked quote unquote untidy. Similarly dressed, with blood running down her legs, a woman was seen on Route 128 between 3:15 and 3:30 p.m.
That's weird.
Okay. They said that she was cradling something at her stomach or was cradling her stomach. At 4:30 p.m. that day, somebody else also noted a woman in similar clothing with similar conditions looking untidy and bleeding and whatever around on Route 128.
Okay, so she's been seen by like 3 people on the same road. Well, yeah.
And it's 2 different roads. It's Route 128 and Route 2A.
Oh, okay.
But the thing, like, okay, they don't have cell phones. I understand that, so you got to wait to call somebody. I get that. But, like, why do you not stop?
Yeah, that's weird.
Especially if you see a woman who is literally bleeding down her legs and looking completely lost. Because it's the 60s. Like, you're nice to people back then.
Yeah, that's a little strange to not. But was it a major highway? Was this like a major like road?
Yeah, there's like apparently there was lots of construction going on Route 128 as well.
Okay.
Okay, so like I said, the unfamiliar car that we talked about earlier had been spotted by the milkman like 5 to 7 days earlier in the driveway, but nobody knew who drove it or anything like that. A 2-toned car was described as seeing it was sighted at Route 2A, the very first sighting we saw. Mm-hmm. This 2-tone car was seen at Route 2A at 4:15. Somebody noted that a man got out, cut some branches off trees, and then got back in and drove away.
Okay.
I didn't know if that meant that he just cut them and like left, or if he like put branches in his car and left.
I mean, it's yeah. Either way, I think either one is a little weird, strange to say the least. Okay. So it's that allegedly, it's allegedly the same car.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Somebody just described a 2-tone car.
A 2-tone car that looks roughly similar, or at least.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Keep going.
So she's missing. These are the last confirmed sighting. We've had our last confirmed sighting. These are some possible sightings. A local newspaper writer ended up doing some research at the library. They were looking for Joan, and they were doing some research and stuff. And it was, this woman had checked out a book, and she happened to see that Joan had checked out the same book like a couple weeks before, which isn't a big deal. Like, you go to the library, check out books. Come to find out, Joan had checked out at least 25 books in the summer of 1961, all about murders and disappearances. There was one book called Into Thin Air, where a woman had left behind blood smears and towels in order to disappear.
Holy shit. Well, that solves it.
I'm not...
Oh my god, the plot thickens.
We're almost done, don't worry. Now... this is where we're going to get into like some weird stuff. Well, not weird stuff. It's just some of the theories around it. So friends all said that Joan was very happy with her life. She loved being a mother. She would never leave her children. She was a very like capable mother.
Right.
So you get to the theory. Some people believe that she did leave on purpose, that she was for some reason unhappy with her life. But even people that like knew Martin and her, they had a very happy marriage. Like it wasn't strained. They were very well off, not well off, but you know they had enough to get by. She was involved in the community. She had friends. She was shy, but like there was nothing to even signal that this was a thing. You know.
Yeah.
Some people thought that maybe she had somehow gotten amnesia, and that's why she was kind of wandering and didn't know where she was, if that was her.
Okay.
Some people also believe that she accidentally injured herself, went to go get help because you're losing blood or whatever.
Yeah.
And
that's a thing.
Because I said there was construction going on down the road, some people believe that she fell into a pit and was covered up, essentially, without them realizing it.
Okay.
Some people also suspect that she was probably pregnant, and in an attempt to do an abortion on herself, which explains the blood and running down her legs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Other stuff befell her. Martin Risch, her husband, did die in 2009. He lived in the house. He returned to the house, raised his children. He died in 2009, but he never declared his wife legally dead.
Wow.
The one thing that they did note that was kind of suspicious was like in like the day or two following her disappearance, when the cops were asking him questions, he kept describing Joan as she was such a good woman. She was this if she did do that. Like it wasn't present.
That's weird too.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. That's strange.
And just as a little side note, the last of the original investigators on the case also died in 2009.
Coincidence?
So, if you want to click to our last picture, it's just a picture of her with Lily, and it's very blurry. It's like one of the only ones I could find. Yeah, that's her with her daughter Lily, and Lily was smaller. But since then there has been no other trace, no message, no word, no suspects, no. I think the only suspect that they had in it was a door-to-door salesman that quote unquote made housewives uneasy, but he had an alibi and everything checked out. But she literally vanished into thin air.
They never identified the car or anything?
Nope.
Okay. Back it up.
Like it's my understanding that they found some people that had like a two-tone car, but then they were just like, what are you talking about? Like I was over here or whatever. I don't think the man who cut branches was ever identified.
Wait. Hold on. Okay. Let's sleuth. Let's sleuth. Okay. The trench coat was hers.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The mail wasn't checked, but she was outside with a red object.
Should also be noted that, because I know that you were really excited about that whole, oh, she did it on purpose. She looked at all these books.
Mm-hmm.
I read lots of books about disappearances and murders. That doesn't mean I'm going to, for one thing. And for another, she had made several appointments for like the following week for like various doctors and things like that. Like she was.
Yeah, but that's just to legitimize it.
Maybe, but
that's
she was
like,
planning
hey,
ahead.
No, I'm definitely gonna be here. Trust me.
Wink, wink. No, I get you. I don't
Did they only have one car? Like she didn't have her own car.
I think the car that you saw was her car.
Okay, but they didn't have. It was still there.
It was still there.
Okay, so where was the blood was on her car?
There was blood on the fender. There was blood on the hood next to the
driver's side, or?
Next to the windshield, like near the windshield on the hood.
That's
on
weird.
The hood. And then this is the one that the article that I read specifically said that this was like the weirdest place. It was like on the trunk. And the trunk is like facing the road, so like she could still sleep.
Well, okay. That something happens in the house. She wanders out of the house. Blood's on her, obviously, because there's blood everywhere. Something has happened in the house. She bumps up into the car, bumps into the back of the car with her hand or whatever, and then she starts wandering down the road, but nobody sees her.
Mm-mm. The only possible sightings that was ever mentioned were the ones that I mentioned on the highways, and I wasn't quite sure how far away those highways were from her house. I really didn't have that information. But the way it was described to me was like, even though it's like a neighborhood, it wasn't like it was untraveled. Like there's a milkman, there's a postman, you've got people coming and going, her neighbors come and go.
Yeah, it's a neighborhood.
I read one theory though that the neighbor, conspired to kill her. And the only evidence that this person provided was that, like, the neighbor had owned land somewhere else, and they had taken out something suspiciously, like, the week before or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, what? But
Unfounded.
regardless.
Okay, so...
And she had, like, plans. Like, that's the thing. She wanted to be a teacher, like, after the kids got older, and she loved her kids. Like, that's the thing that I can't get over either. Like, I can understand being unhappy with your life, and, like, in the 60s, like, divorce and stuff isn't really heard of, but, like...
Well, maybe that's it, though. That's the stigma. It's like, oh, we have to be together. There's no escape. Like that, you know?
Leaving your children. I cannot fathom that.
But you can't. You're also not in that situation.
No, but
imagine, like, she... What was she like before? Like, did she have, like... What did she want? Like, what did she do for work?
She was a secretary.
She was just a secretary?
Mm-hmm. That's where she met Martin.
What does he do?
He's a publishing...
agent?
Not an agent, but he's, like, an executive of the publishing company.
Oh, okay. Okay, so... Maybe... I mean, that's a good reason. That was her kid? Like, or, I mean, that was his kid, I mean?
Yeah, both of them were.
Like, guaranteed?
I mean, as far as I know.
Okay. Because I'm just thinking, like, maybe... How old was she?
She was 31.
How old was her husband?
I have no idea. It does not say.
He died in 2009. He was at least, 79 when he died? If he was born at the same time.
Yes.
In 30. Okay, so... I mean, well, wow, yeah. If he died in 2009, he must have been, like, around the same age. Because I'm just thinking, like, maybe that's how she felt. Maybe she felt trapped.
I mean, I guess.
Because
but,
divorce...
I mean, okay. So even if that's the case, the fact that she, like, never resurfaced, never tried to check on her kids, never did, like, anything, even, like 30 or 40 years down the road, doesn't even try.
I mean, like, at that point, you probably go, well, it's been 30 years, like...
I can't wrap my mind around somebody that wouldn't even try to check on their children.
Not to mention, like, it couldn't be that easy to find them, given the time period. If it was today, like, you could just go out and find them. Like, I'm sure, well, you said he moved back into the house, so he probably was, like...
He stayed there, yeah.
He didn't stay there the whole time.
Mm-mm.
He left.
He left, like, way down the road. That was what it
was. Like, several years later.
Like, way down the road. Like, he stayed and raised the kids there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he remarried or anything, but the house itself, I don't think still stands. I think it was taken down.
Interesting. Well, let's get let's get some chat opinions up in here. Let's see what we got. B. Visconti says something old, something red, something borrowed, and something dead.
Jesus Christ.
Let's see. Mr. Myth says maybe the people who did that nurse for a suicide had to run after that and they moved there. It's all connected. It's all connected. DNA profiling wasn't developed until 1984. So then how could they have even assumed... How did they do blood before...
All they knew of the blood that was in there was that it was type O, and that was what she had. That doesn't necessarily mean it was hers.
I guess you could, like...
Slaughter a pig.
There's I don't know what the differences are between the blood type.
Slaughter a pig.
What does that mean?
It means you can get blood from the pig.
Oh. Well, I mean, there's differences... There's differences in, like, blood on a cellular level. I assume that's the blood type difference, right? I'm going to guess that.
This is not a science podcast.
Seems good.
We don't know. Also, don't ask you to do math.
There was no blood in the trunk?
Nope.
No blood in the trunk, just on top.
Just
See,
on top.
I feel like something happened. She bumped into the car on her way out. Because it was on the fender, on the hood. She bumped into the fender. You said it was on her leg, too. Or there was a woman walking down the street with blood on her leg.
Blood running down her leg.
She bumps into the thing. She walks around the front of the car. She staggers. She's lost some blood, not a lot, but enough to be like, this isn't right. You know,
somebody
falls over.
Another theory that I read said that there was maybe, I don't know what they were using, but maybe there was a bad reaction to whatever she had done at the dentist that morning.
Oh, okay.
And something crazy was happening. But at the same time, like, you almost have to assume that by that point that she's staggering, she's out of her mind. Because her neighbor is literally over there with her kids. Like, just walk to your neighbor and be like, help.
Yeah, but I mean, that's true.
Look, if
Okay.
I'm bleeding, I don't care how well I know my neighbor. I'm gonna go help.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm not gonna go wandering down the street. By that point, you have to assume she has lost her mind.
Yeah.
If it isn't on purpose.
Let's see. Didn't you say, Mr. Myth says, didn't you say that she was molested? Maybe it was a mental issue, so maybe it caught back up with her.
That's another thing.
Anesthesia or,
So,
or the drugs.
one thing that I was reading said that it was possible that maybe she had just this complete emotional break, just finally just kind of snapped. She had no history of mental health issues or mental illness, and there was no history in her family. But obviously, if there's a molestation, you've lost both your parents on a fire, that stuff builds up, especially if you don't do anything about it. But there was no signs even leading up to that, and for it to be that sudden, I think is just really odd to me.
Yeah. It seems like, I mean, did they know if she was pregnant for the third time? Like, was that, confirmed?
It was not confirmed. It was just a fan theory that maybe she had gotten pregnant either, maybe not even with her husband, because there was, a mysterious two-tone car, and, he'd been kind of there.
That is kind of weird.
And obviously it's a scandal if,
Well, I mean, that's a thing. Or you, the Visconti says, or you could use chocolate syrup. Everything was in black and white in 1961, so chocolate could foil the police or the cops.
Not in person.
It's true. Not in person. That doesn't
Her
count.
daughter said that the kitchen was covered in red paint.
Red paint. Okay. Well, here's the thing. So let's assume. Okay. So the first time the car was, do you know where the husband was? Did it say where he was? Was he away on business?
I have no idea.
Did he travel for business often?
It did not say.
Okay, let's assume that he travels for business often. He has to go to New York. He's a publisher. He's an executive at a company. He's probably always gone.
Yeah.
Which is, that makes sense. That's logical.
He's a businessman.
So he's always moving. The two-tone car was only seen once prior?
That they recalled.
And
that was a milkman that recalled it. But it
wasn't even the neighbor across the road?
It was the milkman.
Really?
Blamed the milkman.
Yeah.
So it was the milkman who had seen it. He said, I think it was 5 to 7 days previous, that earlier. But it's also, that time is also really, really popular for door-to-door salesmen. And one thing that was mentioned in some of the articles that I read about that theory with it being a door-to-door salesman was that, hi, come on, baby, was that Joan was a very nice lady, and she didn't want to turn down people. She felt bad. So maybe and her husband said that she had bought a subscription to a magazine because she felt bad for turning the guy away.
Yeah.
So it's possible this salesman had gotten some money out of her or whatever, and then he shows back up,
Mm-hmm. Where was the car during all of this? Did they say when the car left?
The little girl that spotted the two-tone car on the day of the disappearance just said that that's what she saw. And she's a school-age girl. I think she was 9 or 10 or something.
Okay.
So she doesn't know, and nobody pays attention to that stuff, I guess.
Nobody saw it leave at what time. No. That's really unfortunate. Okay, B. Visconti says, okay, seriously, what about the phone and a trash can in the middle of the floor? How does that scene play out?
That's really weird, too.
That is very strange.
Like I said, one picture that I saw noted that the cord that plugs into the phone from the wall was missing. And the
phone line was missing?
Yeah. And so one thing that that this person said that I read was that it could have meant that there was an intruder who purposely ripped it out.
Yeah, that's really weird. Wait, how does the phone line go? That's weird. Mm-hmm. That seems deliberate.
The fact that the trash can was in the middle of the room is really weird to me too.
Okay, so the
trash had been turned over. The bottles and stuff were all over the floor, but the trash can itself was upright with the phone in it.
It seems okay. Jesus. Okay, let's piece it together.
Solving crimes.
So let's just assume that she was attacked. Let's assume that she was attacked. And let's assume that the two-tone car is the perpetrator.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just guess. So he comes in the week before. I'm gonna throw this out there. He's her secret lover.
Secret lover man.
That's not a real song.
It is now.
So secret lover shows up, hanging out. He shows up the week before when the husband's out of town.
Hanging out, they knocked in boots.
Secret lover shows up week before when her husband is out of town. They're doing the twist.
As my English teacher in high school used to call it, the double-backed monster.
The double-backed monster? Oh.
He's like, yeah, they're doing the double-backed monster. We were 14! You're 14.
Prepping you for the real world.
We were 14.
Double-backed monsters all over the place.
Well, he got fired, so.
Oh, did he?
He did.
For what?
Inappropriate things.
Okay, no, back to the
My
theory.
high school career was wild.
You're throwing me off. The CIA is like sending you messages to throw me off the trail.
Come on, dumpster.
Trying to solve this mystery.
Let's solve this monster.
This monster of a mystery, exactly. Okay, Lover comes over a week before. Not there. They're doing their thing. I just made this.
You just made that really weird
Anyway.
hand motion.
Well, it was supposed to be like.
What is that? Show me again. Oh, that's
It just means that there were 4 days of the week.
scissoring.
Anyways, shows up a second time and they're hanging out. She wants to call it. She wants to call it off.
Everything was hanging
And
out.
he's like, "Nah, you mine." And she was like, "Nah." And he was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Wait." And he was like, "Chka," and he hits her or something happens, right? They get into a tussle. Is that what they call it in the 50s? A tussle? They tussled.
In a scrap.
There you go. They scrapped.
I don't think you can use it that way.
Something
They scrapped.
something happens. They get into it. He comes over. No, because he's out of town. So he comes over to hang out, and he's drinking. Like he's like knocking drinks back, and they're having a good old time because they're getting ready to get a little frisky. That's what happens. That's where the beer comes from. Right? Then she's like, "We need to stop this. This isn't working. Like, I want my life back. It's fine." He flips his shit. And he cuts her or hits her or knocks her, pushes her down or whatever. And she's freaking out because she's got blood on her. Wherever it is, because we don't know. It's obviously on her hands. And she obviously has blood on her hands. That's the only way you can smear it on a wall. Something, right? So she freaks out. Was there blood on the phone book?
It didn't say.
Didn't say? Okay.
It just said it was open to an emergency contact list.
Okay. So she flips out on him. He hits her. They get into a scrap. She's bloodied up. Something gets cut or whatever. She freaks out and tries to call emergency services. Flips open the phone book while they're still arguing.
Oh,
No, he's still in the house. They're still arguing, and she's like, rah, 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 and she starts flipping through this phone book. And she goes to reach for the phone, and he knocks it out of her hand, and he rips the phone out of the wall and destroys the cable. Or if they never found the cable, then he kept the cable so she couldn't plug it back in. Tosses the phone in the trash can. And he's like, fuck this, I'm out. And he leaves.
Why is the trash can still in the room?
That's what I'm getting to.
You've got an explanation.
I've got an explanation for everything. He throws it away. She's bleeding, like, profusely. Or not profusely, but enough so that it's like, I'm bleeding everywhere. And she's probably been knocked in the head, which is why she's a little bit disoriented. Right? So there's blood all over the floor. And she's been knocked upside the head. So she's like delirious kind of, right? She grabs whatever she can, and she starts like trying to clean up the blood because there's blood all over the floor. She's like, this is incorrect. So, and while she's doing that, she probably stumbles around and hits the wall.
Stop you for a second?
No. She stumbles around and she hits the wall. Listen, man.
Okay, finish, okay.
I've
got problems.
I'm Will Graham right
problems.
now. I'm Will
You're
Graham
Will
right
Graham
now.
right
Calm down.
Just gonna be some deer walking through our living room in a second. Where's our 10 dogs, Jordan?
Oh, God. We have one dumpster. That counts.
One dumpster.
Then he leaves because he's like, I'm out. He leaves, he drives off. This way you never see the car again. Until later. I have an explanation for that as well. So she's stumbling around, she cleans up, she grabs, the overalls or corduroys, whatever they were, and tries to wipe up the blood. Pulls the trash can into the middle of the room because she's trying to clean up the blood on the floor with all the paper towels, so she has easier access to it, right? So she's like throwing crap away. She gets up, she goes in to check on the kid, which is, he's probably crying, or he's like, he could be crying because there was a scuffle. So the kid would wake up and he'd be like, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. How old was the child?
A toddler.
Toddler, okay, that's even better. Because then he can't like do anything, he can't interact or get out of his
I just see
like
your brain is
I'm firing on all cylinders right now. We all need to chill. Okay.
I don't
So there's only a couple drops of blood, you said, in the bedroom. In the
There's a
toddler's room?
couple on the top of the stairs. There's a couple in the master bedroom, and there's a couple in the children's room.
So all the bedrooms are
By the
probably,
window in the children's room.
they're all upstairs?
Mhm.
Was the window across the room, or was it close to the... Because that matters.
It doesn't say.
If the window's close to where the crib is, then she may have, like, opened the door and checked on the baby, you know, put him back to sleep
Yeah.
while she's got this head wound, you know, because he's freaking out, but he doesn't, like, pick her up, he just kind of soothes her or something. Was there, like, a bottle or anything found in the baby's thing?
Not that they told me in
Okay.
the articles I read.
Then she comes back downstairs, or she, like, you know, goes into every room, but she's got this, like, head wound. Like, she's all,
She's
like...
bleeding.
She's bleeding.
She's dying.
But she's been knocked upside the head, so she's a little bit like,
She's a little woozy.
You know? She wanders back down the stairs and out the door to go find help. She's bleeding. She's been knocked upside the head. She's all kind of jacked up. She's
Jacked up. Official
when did this happen?
1961.
But what?
October.
October.
October 24th.
So it's... Oh, okay, so it's cold outside. Which is
'Cause
why
they're
she grabbed,
freaking
which is why
Massachusetts.
she grabbed a jacket.
Okay.
She grabs a jacket, she throws it on. As she's walking out, she gets more woozy. She bumps into the car. The fender, the front fender, right? Catches her balance, walks around the front of the car to the, like, driver's side, I guess, or passenger side.
It didn't
Either
say.
way, she's walking. She stumbles again, leans onto the car. More blood on the hood.
There's blood.
She's walking down the back of the car. She loses her balance again. It's Massachusetts in the winter. It's probably cold, like freezing cold. And you said she was wearing like a dress and just a light jacket.
Yeah, it was like a house dress. And
Yeah.
like slip-on shoes or
So
something like
okay, so as she's walking out, she stumbles again, puts her hand onto the bumper, or I mean the trunk.
Mhm.
Blood there. As she hits the road, she starts walking down the road. The dude in the two-tone car has already left. How the hell does she get from there to the highway? I was good up until this point. How does she get from there to the highway?
that. Can I...
No. She didn't take her car.
I have one problem.
What?
Why were the overalls that she used to clean the blood, why were they so pressed that it looked like something had been laying on them a long time? Like a body.
Because they were at the bottom of the drawer.
Okay, but when you pull them out to like... And where did she get them from a drawer? She's in the kitchen.
Well, she grabbed overalls.
And she was like, why do they look compressed? That's my thing.
She wandered into the room to check on the child.
And grabbed his cold... You're not going to use your kids' like clothes to like wipe up your blood when you've got paper towels
How did they know
downstairs.
that they looked pressed, like something was heavy? Maybe they'd just been ironed.
Okay.
How can you tell the difference between like...
I just report what I read.
No, I know, I'm just saying, like, how can you tell the difference between something being ironed and something being, like, sat on?
What issues do they have with your things?
Oh my god, dude, this is a brilliant... I've got it figured out. Let's see. Visconti says, phone cords back then did not coil. They were cloth covered and straight. But the part that goes to the wall is a popular ligature. Let's see here. Attacks. Visconti says attacks. She goes for the phone. He tears it off the wall and throws it in the trash for dramatic effect. Exactly. He's like, oh,
One thing that I did read did say that it was possible that like maybe she had come home too early or something from whatever, and there was an intruder in the house. And something that I read said that she may have suspected that somebody was in the house. So she had that's why she had remember, she took the children from her house, from the front yard, to her neighbor's house. And then was like,
was that next door or across the street?
Across the street.
Okay.
So that's kind of weird to me too, is like, they were playing just fine, and for no reason she was like, guys, go over here.
Exactly, because the dude in the two-tone car was like her lover. That's what I'm saying.
But she was like, I'll be back soon, and,
she can't take the baby over there.
No.
You know, because it's a baby, like.
Yeah. Well, she had earlier in the day. She took the toddler when she went to the dentist. She left him with the neighbor, and she just took her daughter.
Maybe he showed up drunk. I am under the impression. I feel like the two-tone car is her lover.
Two-tone lover. That's my next.
And
single.
I think that the two-tone car with the branch thing, that just seems like I think that's just like a. I think that's just a coincidence.
Okay. So where is Joan?
What kind of tree was it?
Didn't say.
It
said
depends.
trees.
It matters.
Where is It's Joan.
Where is she?
Where's Joan?
I think that she wandered down the highway and got picked up by somebody. I want to say the man in the two-tone
Something
car.
nefarious.
I think the man in the two-tone car found her.
Killed her.
I think he maybe.
Oh.
I mean, I definitely think she's dead.
No, I agree with that.
But I mean, as far as how
she is still a technically she is an open missing persons case. Like they haven't even declared her dead. Like there's like her husband refused to declare her dead. Also, his weird thing about saying she was this and she was that. Bitch, she's been gone a day.
See, that's a thing too. Maybe he was unhappy. Like maybe they were both unhappy and there was just no way out of it. So, I mean, I don't think that he would hire like a hitman, but I mean, like...
Yeah, what I read about it, though, is like, he just seemed like really heartbroken over the whole thing, too. Like, what I read about him is like, he was very upset about it. Like, he just didn't really, like, especially later in life, he just didn't give interviews and stuff. He was like, look, I'm very, like, I don't know, he just seemed upset.
He wouldn't give interviews?
Like, later in life, they said that he just stopped talking about it altogether because he was just...
done with it.
Just so much, yeah.
Huh.
He would talk about it, like, when it first happened, but, like, later in life, they said that he just kind of stopped because he just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah. Let's see.
There's a lot going on.
Visconti says, male attacker attempts to clean up blood and does a shitty job because he's male. I can see that, too.
He's male in the 1960s.
Yeah. Let's see. Mr. Myth said blood, a half-inch. Well, I didn't know you could put 1/2 inch as a single character. That's pretty fancy. 1/2 inch of blood drop was found on the first step of the stairway. 2 more of a similar size were found at the top of the stairs, along with 8 in the master bedroom and 1 near a window in the children's bedroom.
Stop stealing my thunder.
They fought, and she wandered upstairs to escape him. You said that. I think he hit her. Struck her, something happened, and they fought through the house.
Okay.
Like, they're yelling. I mean, I feel like I'm dead set on the theory that he was her ex-lover, or a lover.
A lover.
She was having a lover. She was, two-tone lover. She was having an affair. She was having an affair, I can guarantee it. But only half a pint is weird. Or a pint of blood, or whatever you said.
It was just a minor injury, yeah. It was like half a pint.
See, that's weird. But they couldn't identify the blood properly either.
No, they just knew it was typo.
It was the 50s. It could be his blood.
Maybe he's typo, but typo's rare, I think. Like, really rare.
Is
it's possible, but I think, I don't know. I'm
but
not
even
a
so,
scientist.
like, rare or not.
It
could be his blood.
Could be.
Maybe maybe that's why she tried to clean it up.
Maybe she beat the shit out of him.
I mean, there was a scuffle, and he got angry at the phone. If he threw the phone away, imagine what he did to her. Just saying. But yeah, oh man. No hitman would be this messy. Yeah, I mean, I'd agree with that. Let's see.
It was his first time. Be gentle.
The lack of bloody footprints is interesting, too.
Mm-hmm. Because you saw in the pictures, and I don't know if you can go back to them if you want to, but in the pictures, there is, like, a substantial amount of blood, like, on the kitchen floor. Like, nobody stepped in it. Like, what?
B. Visconti says, but there was blood both inside and on the car, therefore blood spilled outside. So we know that there was more blood loss than was actually found. That's true. I mean, what if she did lose more blood than what was found? It was tried to clean. There was an attempt to clean it up.
Yeah, that's
true. Or at
true.
least some of it.
That's true.
So, I guess the thing that's bothering me is, like, how did she get from her house
to the highway with nobody seeing her?
And especially if the car didn't move, like her car didn't move.
I'm really bothered by the fact that if it was her on the highway, nobody stopped to help her.
But we are assuming that it's her on the highway.
Yeah, but even so, like, somebody's wandering on the highway, don't drive and then call. Like, stop and help that person if they look like they're wandering and they're dirty and it's a woman in the 1960s. Like, I don't get that.
There was only 3 sightings?
Yeah.
Were they... What city was it?
Lincoln, Massachusetts.
Did you look anything up about that city? Like, what its surrounding area? Like, her address or anything? Like, if it's wooded, maybe she may have just fallen into the woods. No, but how would she not be found, like, 60 years later?
That's why it's a very common theory that for whatever reason she was disoriented or whatever, and she's walking down, because if there's construction going on on Route 128 at this time, and that she fell into a pit and they just covered it with concrete without realizing.
Interesting. Huh. I don't know. It's really confusing. It's really strange. I guess the highway thing is the only thing I feel like I can't explain or can't be explained.
I
How
think
she got to the highway.
the thing that bothers me about this one, though, is just because it is unsolved. Like, I don't like not knowing. It's very frustrating to me.
Yeah.
And if that's your thing, like, you know, you've still got those weird, like, books that she checked out, like 25 of them over the summer, where it's, like, all about, like, wives trying to disappear and, like, murder and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Let's see.
And apparently in Into Thin Air, the scene that's described is, like, very similar to hers. There's just, like...
Really?
Yeah. I couldn't find the book itself. They didn't say an author or who it was. Like, when you look up Into Thin Air book, the only thing that I could find, like, pretty quickly was a Mount Everest book, which is not the same thing.
Maybe she's a mountain climber. She's someone you don't know. Do you know who Kitty Genovese is?
Who?
Kitty Genovese.
I do not.
Was in New York in the 60s, and Beavis County says nobody helped her when she was in trouble.
Oh, I watched a documentary about that, yes, and she was, like, screaming for help as this guy was stabbing her, and nobody said anything. And it's, like, a busy corner.
I mean, that was in the 60s, too.
Yeah, but I would argue that New York City is way different than small-town Lincoln, Massachusetts.
Is Lincoln a small town?
Well, smaller than New York City. You got to think about.
Most places are smaller than New York City.
Stop. You got to think about the mentality of New York, though, versus the mentality of like this. Like, this is like a suburb. Like, everybody on our street knows everybody else. Like, I would argue that is the difference in, like, personality types. Like, I almost expect people not to pay attention in New York City.
Yeah, but Massachusetts it's shaped like a gun. That's a metaphor for the people who live there. Just saying. You don't know. Stop stereotyping people. Man. Wait.
I can't even comprehend how I'm supposed to talk to you.
I'm just saying. I'm just throwing it out there.
It's shaped like a gun. I hate you.
Dude, I'm just saying. Oh my god.
Sometimes if I squint and look at you, you're shaped like a potato. Doesn't mean anything.
I'm surprised you don't feel that way when you're not squinting.
Aw. I don't think you look like a potato.
Thanks.
I didn't mean it. I'm sorry.
I appreciate it.
If you were a potato, you'd be a cute potato.
Like what's a cute potato look like?
Like the little pasty white ones.
The little pasty white ones?
Yeah, you boil them and then you eat them. Oh.
Yeah. I appreciate that, I guess. Okay, well, any closing comments?
No, I don't
Concerns?
think so.
I have a lot.
Concerns or comments?
Yes.
Oh my god.
What do you think? Anything in closing? Got anything else you want to add?
I don't have anything else to add. I don't.
Is there anything else that you remember looking up? Anything strange? Any theories? Any fan theories?
The most bizarre one that I read was that the neighbor did it, but they couldn't come up with a motive. And it was just like, the only thing that they had to go on was, they bought some land, that was kind of suspicious, or something like that. I was like, what?
Did they say how big the branches were for the person who cut them off?
No.
I like the two-tone lever. I like that. I like that theory.
That's the official name of this episode, the two-tone lovers.
I'm sticking with that. The two-tone lever.
Good band name.
It is. It's not bad. But the tree is throwing me off too.
If that was him.
If it was him. It may
not.
I mean,
probably lots of two-tone
Yeah.
General Motors cars, like
in the 50s. 60s. Maybe.
I'm just so bothered that there's like not even a trace after that day.
That's really strange. That's why I think that
it wasn't, because when I say sightings, like, it wasn't like there was one a week later and then like a month or something like that. It was like the exact same day and that was it.
I guess I also feel like I think it's also strange, like, why would she leave? If there was a scuffle, why wouldn't she just stay there and lie and say that she was attacked by a man?
Because when a man loves a woman.
But I guess it's like, you don't want to come out to your husband that way and be like, oh yeah, by the way, I was banging that dude.
Well, yeah.
And then I wanted to call it off. Like, it is the
But I mean,
60s.
like, she could have, like, stumbled across the street to her neighbor and been like, a guy attacked me in my house.
Yeah, she could have just lied.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't get it. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't line up, which is why this case interests me, because it's not like, it's just like the last one we did with Debbie Wolf. It's not exactly cut and dry.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of weird stuff that goes into it, and that's kind of what I look for in cases.
Yeah.
Why are you smirking?
I was just reading the comments.
Oh, cool. But no, it's not exactly like cut and dry. And I think that's what I liked about this one too, because when I first heard it, I was like, oh, she definitely did this on purpose. But then there was stuff that didn't line up, and I was like, well, you know, it's not so cut and dry.
I guess the woman walking down the road is weird too. Maybe that wasn't her.
And if it wasn't her, what the heck?
Who was that?
Who was that?
Because it's strange.
Also, only one of the women that they saw walking had a handkerchief around her head. What you doing? There's two, like, disheveled women walking down the highway in the similar place around the same time.
That's weird too. Maybe she was pregnant. Maybe she was pregnant and he tried to force her into getting an abortion. But she wouldn't go through with it. And then he was like, all right. Then he had to, you know.
She was drinking liquor the night before.
Did it say anything else about what she did during the day?
That was it.
Because maybe she found out that she was pregnant.
I do remember that the dentist's name was Anderson. I don't know why I know that, but I read that somewhere. But it was, like, apparently just a really normal, like... But at the same time, it's the 60s, so maybe they didn't realize that drinking while you're pregnant is bad.
That's what I'm... Yeah, that's true.
Like,
how much did she drink, though? Maybe it wasn't a lot.
It must not have been, because he said that they had finished the bottle. But I don't know if it meant, like, it was...
Like one
they
shot.
drank the entire bottle that night.
I mean,
or it was just, like, a shot, or, like, a mixed drink, or a martini, or whatever, you know.
Yeah. I like that more now, actually.
That she was pregnant.
Especially with the blood on the leg, assuming the woman walking down the highway is her.
Yeah.
That she was forced.
It was a botched abortion, basically.
Yeah.
And when you have a botched abortion, like, there's a lot of trauma that goes along with that, too. Who knows, maybe it did spark some sort of mental break in her.
Well, nobody saw his car leave. She may have left with him.
It's true.
Like, nobody, like... And then he may have pushed her out of the car in the middle of the highway. It's October in Massachusetts. It's probably cold.
Yeah.
It's balls.
Maybe he took her with him, and then, like, they got into an argument again in the car, and he just kicked her out, and she's wandering, kind of not really knowing what she's doing, and she falls into a pit and dies.
Yeah, I mean, he may have like hit her while they were in the car, and then pushed her out of the car.
And she's kind of disoriented and wandering.
And she could have fallen into a hole.
She doesn't know where she's at. She doesn't know how to get home.
Yeah, I mean, that's plausible. I like that too. Because they never found the car or the dude, obviously. Like,
do you want to know the worst part about it?
What?
We'll never know.
Yeah, that's frustrating.
Because this case is within a few years, everybody that was involved with this case will be gone, if they aren't already.
Yeah.
And that's probably the worst part about it, is we will never know.
There are probably hundreds of
theories.
Unsolved... Well, no, not theories, but like hundreds of unsolved, like, murders and disappearances. And
I get really depressed reading this stuff sometimes. Like, I know I'm, like, laughing. It's like a nervous laughter, though, because I do get really depressed. Like, it's really upsetting that so much stuff gets, like, unsolved, or, like, people get away with it. Like in Debbie Wolf, like, the likelihood is that guy got away with it, and it
seems like
really upsetting to me. And then, Debbie Wolf was a whole other case. If you guys haven't seen it, it's on our YouTube channel.
That's true. Which I will link right now.
Yeah, you should link them to our lovely YouTube channel.
Once I remember what it is. YouTube.com/onthecouch.
No, it's just the Couchcast.
I don't remember what it is. Let me look it up. Professionalism at its finest. Whoops.
Yeah.
But yeah, so any closing thoughts or anything?
I don't know. Just sign into it over there, and then you can just send them the link.
Professionalism.
Click your little picture.
Nope, we're doing it this way, boys. My way is superior. It's my way or the byway. The byway. Anyway, so any closing thoughts or ideas while I do this?
No, I don't think so. I think I've said all I can say on this one without beating it to death.
Me too.
I don't know which case I'm going to do next. I haven't quite decided that yet. But we'll see. I have a whole list. And if you guys have any, like, suggestions or, like, possible videos that you'd like to see, like, just let me know. I'm into murders and mysteries and missing people and weird stuff, unsolved things, and ghosts and stuff. I think my official final theory on Joan is aliens.
Aliens? It's always aliens. It can't just be aliens. That's such a cop-out, man.
Or the Yeti.
It's always. Oh, the Yeti. I could see the Yeti there. Pretty
It's cold,
far
it's
north.
cold enough there.
It could be Canadians.
Canadians came down. And
They're coming for us, man.
Grr.
They were like, brilliant. Brilliant, dumpster. Brilliant. Oh my god. Okay, well,
I think that's it.
I think that's it. Well, thank you guys for hanging out. This was episode 3. 3. Hopefully many more to come.
I have a list.
Do you know what the next one is?
I don't. I just said that. Thanks for listening.
Oh.
For really paying attention to what I say. It's like our day-to-day life. But no, I have no idea yet.
What? Thanks for hanging out, everybody. We'll catch you guys later.
Bye, guys.
Spooks begin. I need to change that to Spooks End.